Briefing the media following the Public Protector's findings that President Cyril Ramaphosa deliberately misled Parliament on the 500,000 Rand Bosasa donation. Let's cross live to that.
Parliament in his response to the question. Now, the Public Protector sets out that, in fact, the question may not have been related to VBS, but in Parliament and in a political environment, it becomes crucial that, in fact, if we are going to hold the executive to account on this particular matter, all members must have prepared. I'm satisfied by the extent of the investigation, and therefore would argue strongly that in the finding that the President had deliberately misled Parliament, that is a serious charge. That charge is not only in violation of the Executive Ethics Act, it is also in violations of the Powers and Privileges Act. Because on that basis, we make it quite clear that no member is able to, in fact, violate or mislead Parliament. Now, it is common cause that the President is not a member of Parliament. Therefore, I want to direct and request that, along with other remedial action that the Public Protector has already established, we want to request that an ad hoc committee be established in Parliament. What that ad hoc committee must do is interrogate what the appropriate sanction is for a president who misleads Parliament. Because Mr. Ramaphosa must then be able to, in that instance, be able to come and argue his case, as Parliament must apply itself to say what is the appropriate sanction. The prescribes in the Powers and Privileges Act propose a fine or imprisonment. Now, the debate will then become how applicable are those to someone like the President of the Republic. The second matter that is on the table is the fact that, like any other individual, it is correct that President Ramaphosa should have declared what is now sponsorship in this regard. And therefore, the other respective members who also ran for the ANC's internal conference, whilst they were members of Parliament, should make similar declarations. The Ethics Committee should apply itself to members who are currently members of Parliament. It would be very difficult to recall members who are no longer members of Parliament to be able to make submissions to the same committee. The third dynamic to this issue is the serious charge. As I wrote the complaint, I asked the fundamental question as if this was a direct a donation to a campaign or sponsorship, why did it have to go through multiple accounts at the level that it is? It did raise questions and suspicions of money laundering. Therefore, we accept the remedial action as proposed by the Public Protector that the NPA should in fact investigate this matter. We will seek further clarity that did the Public Protector mean the new investigative directorate within the NPA that has been recently established to be able to do the investigation. Furthermore, the NPA must respond to a criminal case. Therefore, if there are serious issues of money laundering, we'll then investigate whether there should be a criminal case opened against President Ramaphosa and the campaign team, because monies had been laundered from one space to the next in funding this particular campaign. I think as the people of this country, we've learned the harsh lessons in the previous term of office under President Zuma. We saw how a leader of the executive can in fact abuse power. This is not about President Ramaphosa. It's about exercising the accountability that is required for any individual, for any president. In this particular instance, as I raise the respective question, I think it is time now that Parliament, who in the Nkandla matter, in the judgment that was given there, said Parliament had failed in its duty to hold the executive to account. We must dare not repeat the same mistake again. It is time that Parliament regain its teeth so that no individual who arrives at the office of president will ever be able to abuse that power. And therefore, fellow South Africans, we continue our call to say President Ramaphosa must subject himself to an ad hoc committee that will sit in Parliament so that he can be subpoenaed. That ad hoc committee will have powers to subpoena so that he can appear before it and actually give evidence in regard, so that Parliament can exercise itself as to what the appropriate sanction is for the President in this regard. and whether or not what the further consequences ought to be on this matter. The remedial actions have been tabled for 30 days. The Public Protector has sent me the full report that she gave, I think, an executive summary thereof today, and I will then submit it to our legal team so that we can take further action. Thank you very much.
James, are there any inputs from you? Then we'll start with questions. Start here.
Well, just to sum up, then you support the Public Protector's findings, and secondly, do you not think that the whole I mean, on the one hand, you're calling for the Public Protector to be dismissed and removed from office because she's unfit. Suddenly she's very fit in the findings that she made about the President because it suits your case. Is that not being expedient and hypocritical? And are you not just falling into the Fight Back campaign's agenda?
Thank you. Further questions?
Yeah. I would assume that the President will take this report on review. Would the DA propose or can it side with the Public Protector in the court matter, or will stay out of it? And secondly, the big issue here is money to politicians. Campaign funding and party funding. If I recall correctly, that funding would have been subject to the party funding board, that money was received from USASA. But the bigger issue is money to politicians. So would the DA be willing to open up their own books, but first of all, internal campaign funding and for donors? And yeah, that's it. Thanks.
You're calling for an ad hoc committee to investigate the president. Why not go straight for impeachment proceedings? I mean, done that in the past. And the second issue is that related to the question that Linda is asking, is that are you not feeding into this so-called Fight Back campaign? Because I mean, on one hand, as she says that you're fighting for her to be removed, but on the other hand, you somehow believe in her.
I'm just struggling a bit with your proposal of the ad hoc committee, because the Public Protector has said the matter should now be referred to the ethics committee because he didn't declare, because the donation happened when he was still an MP. So I'm just struggling to understand why are you suggesting a parallel process? Why are you separating the two? If you could just explain.
I just want to find out this ad hoc committee that you want to be formed here in Parliament. How are you going to ensure that it is then funded for this to take place?
How do I make sure that?
The ad hoc committee is formed within Parliament.
Sure, Linda. First and foremost, I think I have a slight challenge with the request that I, as leader of the opposition, must sit here and decide which faction people in the ANC sit. If you have a list of people who are on the Fight Back team, please furnish it to me. If you have a list on the people who are on the Ramaphosa team, please give it to me. Because if you are requesting of me to make a determination as to the factional lines within the ANC, I have suspicions of my own. But I think to spread that narrative is dangerous. I'll tell you why it's dangerous. Because in future, any president who comes and does something wrong and happens to be on a so-called good faction, then will be absolved from the law. Logically, we should never ascribe a decision about factionalism. What we ought to do is follow the law. If I'm following the law, I arrive in Parliament, I say, President Ramaphosa, I have an affidavit here before me that says you received money for a campaign. The President makes a statement that he later seeks to correct. That is misleading the House. I'm following the processes of the law. Otherwise, then what I should have done is said, no, let me not lay the complaint because this must be the good side. Because whatever the case might be. Fellow South Africans, if we are going to uphold constitutional democracy, if President Nelson Mandela was alive today, he would appear before any committee and subject himself to the rules of this country. So should any other president, including President Ramaphosa. We cannot absolve him on the basis of some factional battle that is within his party, and I must decide which faction that is. Because then the extension to that question says, clearly, the public protector is no longer now ruling on the basis of law. The public protector is ruling for a faction.
Well, she is, isn't she?
Well, that's your assertion. I cannot state that. My reason for saying that the public protector must be removed was not on the basis of a faction. It's on the basis of the findings in reports that she issued on the South African Reserve Bank and other places where they've been found to be wrong in law.
Well, they could be wrong in law.
But that's not my determination. If anybody has a problem with that issue, they can take it to court, as Mr. Ramaphosa has the right to do so, as Mr. Godane has the right to do so, as anybody does. We've had findings against us. So did she pick a faction against us? No. The fact is, we must uphold the office of the public protector. Otherwise, in future, we will decide, hey, this one is good, what. No, the office of the public protector has a duty to do. Mine is to follow the law. So, otherwise, in truth, do I believe the president misled parliament? Yes, I do. That's why I raised the complaint. Doesn't take a factionalized or not factionalized public protector. It takes any rational human being who says, you can't arrive in parliament, say X, and then next week say Y, and then further evidence emerges that actually Z occurred. Because when you look at the extent of the donations and the allegations that are found in the report, they are substantive and serious. It wasn't just 500,000 as what the public protector is saying. It was a broader donation of which a section of it ended up in the CR campaign. What was that other money for? These are serious allegations. Therefore, let's not try and absolve what is going on here by simply trying to pick which is a good faction or a bad faction, or furthermore trying to say what is this public protector or that public protector. I'm not interested in a fight back campaign. I'm only interested in the rule of law, and in this instance there are some profound allegations against the sitting president. There is clear violation in the sense that the president arrived in parliament, made one statement and then changed it the following week. This is not faction. This is about following the rule of law. And if I believe in the rule of law, then the president must be held to account. I wish, actually, that there could have been another body to make this investigation at. But frankly, the Executive Ethics Act makes it specific that you must make the investigation through the public protector. That's what it says. So we have to follow that particular process. The NPA must do its job. The NPA, if now they are going to investigate serious allegations of money laundering, are we also going to say they are aiding a faction? We can't say that. We must allow the NPA to do its job. There's a remedial action here for the speaker as to how she must act within 30 days. We mustn't also say she must do a job on the basis of which faction she's on. We must simply say, do your job as the Speaker of the National Assembly. Otherwise, if we start to go down this route, it will be dangerous. So fellow South Africans, I think this is a crucial matter of the rule of law we must establish. Because tomorrow, another president will arise, and then we might end up saying, no, we must protect this one because we like this one. The law must be the law.
So you support her findings?
I'm saying,
yes.
That's why I raised the complaint.
We have to accept them until they're set aside.
And let a court, a competent court, deal with this matter. The second is, my fight against the public protector being removed, that will continue. It will take a year. That's why I'm asking for Parliament to do its job. It must do its job. It's the individual of the public protector is a completely separate matter from the office of the public protector. This report is compiled by South Africans who are working in the office of the public protector. And if there are challenges, let them be reviewed or set aside, but let the president do that job. Are we going to oppose it? That's the job of the president and the public protector. They must do that. And where the public protector must respond to the findings of the president, that's her own decision and duty. So in this instance, ours is to monitor that the law has been followed. I think James will respond on campaign financing. Thabo, and you are asking me the question about the purpose of the ad hoc committee and why. The difficulty about the remedial action, whilst I accept that the president did not declare the money when he was deputy president, and actually, when I went to Pretoria to view the declaration of interest of him as the president, these declarations were not in there. The challenge here is that if you